Okay, what's this? Another video already? Put one up yesterday, and why not put another one up since I'm on a roll? What was that? Oh yeah, a few, well, it's a couple of months ago now, I recorded a video, and it was a Unity tutorial. I was going to make a bit about animation curves and also symmetry. So if you put just a few primitive cubes next to each other, resize them, rescale them a little bit, you can get some quite cool stuff if you make it symmetry and colorize it a little bit. So I made some primitive Space Invader type of enemies, and then I animated them with animation curves. So here's what it looks like in action. It looks nice when it's synchronized and moves. In this video, in the first one, I'll just show you how I created a little helper to create really rapid symmetry objects, and it'll copy both the left side of or the right side of the object and mirror it, and it will also copy any animation curves that you've applied to it. Also, I'm going to throw some of these sound effects that you see in this demo video. I'm going to throw those in the Universal Sound Effects pack. And if you're looking for a lot of blaster sounds, whoa, you should get my Blasters sound effects pack from invaders.com. Right, anyway, enjoy the video, and if you like it, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Again, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. You can help me reach that goal, and please share it if you can. So I'm going to be looking a lot at the screen today, but I'll try to talk as much as possible, and maybe I'll have a little glance every now and then to the camera as well. But the first thing we're going to do is, so I've just started basically a brand new project here, and the first thing I'll do is, let's rename the scene, just call that game. And also won't be needing the sky box, so let's just do a solid black color. That's all we want for this one. And I think we'll start with just making some of the enemies, I think. So, and for that I'm going to be needing a script. I want to be doing symmetry objects. I think I'll do a little helper script for that. In the assets folder, I'll create a new folder called editor. And then I'll create a new C# script in here, and I'll call it flipx, because I want to be doing some... The reason why it needs to be in the editor folder, I think it needs to be there so the editor picks it up. And in this one, let's create some code here. So we want to make this an editor script. Let's have a look. So we're going to do it a scriptable wizard. And as you can see, it's not, the IntelliSense is not picking up, so I'll press Control Dot on the keyboard, and that'll suggest, and it suggests that I use the Unity editor, and it'll automatically add up if I press Enter, so that's quite handy. Another thing we want to do here is just create a menu item. Let's put it under the game object menu. I'll call it flipx. We want to have as well this to appear. Let's see if this works. And then I have to create a method for this as well. Let's flipx wizard. There we go. Menum item. Can't spell today. There we go. And then, so what do we want to do here? Also, I'm going to throw some of these sound effects
copy of whatever
in this demo video. I'm going to throw those in the Universal Sound Effects pack.
So,
and if you're looking for a lot of blaster sounds,
by just making a test object here. So I'll create an empty and I'll call it enemy. And then I'll add a primitive here. So a cube object, just like this. And if I wanted to make an enemy out of this, I'll do it top down, I think. So I'll work with the Z-axis being forward. Let's see if I wanted to make, so I'll just use the hotkeys here to standard hotkeys in Unity to move and scale. I press Control D to duplicate the object. I press E to rotate it, and R to scale. So let's say we wanted the head to look pretty much like that. And then Control D on this one. R, scale it down a bit. And here's going to be one of the wings that stick out. So let's just make it scale a little bit like this, rotate it maybe. And I want it to pivot on this arm here. So actually I'll be creating, since we're working with scaling object here, I don't really want to be putting the cubes straight under the child, because if you try to put an object to scale under another object that's just being scaled, they tend to flip out. But if you put a game object in between, like I'll create an empty here, and I'll move this to that position here. And then I'll child these under here, because when I rotate this game object now, that tags along like as if it's a wing or an arm or something like that. And again, because I'm working a lot with different scales here, I definitely don't want to put it straight under a cube object, because as I start to move and rotate them, the scales will flip out all over the place. If you don't trust me, try it. So let's call this pivot wing 1. And then we'll do another, I'll press Ctrl D to duplicate that one, and then we'll move. So this is the parent. Let's move that one down here. And then let's rescale these a bit. Make it long. And do this one forward. So let's see if we can make something Space Invader-y type of like object. That's the beauty. The enemies in Space Invaders, you can really make them look whichever way you want. Let's make some arm type of thing here. So it looks strange now probably, and that's okay. We're gonna be working with some magic symmetry stuff here, and I'll show you in a minute. I think usually as soon as you start adding symmetry and some animations, this should look quite cool, I think. Maybe something like this. Let's see if I rotate this one, what happens. Yeah, and let's flip this camera as well. Let's put the main camera so it's looking down. Zero this out. Look down, is that 90 degrees? Yeah. Then move it up. So now we have something that's already starting to look a bit like some weird wing or something like that. And what I'll do here is maybe I'll duplicate this one as well, make it, let's see, flatter and wider. Yeah, I think that should do it. And let's put some colors on this as well. And we'll just create a new folder here. Let's keep it tidy in the project. I'll call it materials. And then let's create some materials here. We'll do red. And Control D to duplicate that one. Call this one gray. I spell it with an A instead of an E. I'm not sure which one's the proper one. Let's call this one white. And let's do a Control D again and do black. Maybe nearly black anyway. That's it. And then we can color some of these things. So let's make this one, actually first of all let's make them all gray. And then let's make this part of the body white, or that can be red, maybe black. And then I see straight away here now that the red is quite pale, and it could be because the rotation of the lights. Let's rotate the light a bit. Let's make these wing objects a bit red as well. We want to have colorful enemies. Why not? This one could be red too. Maybe black. Let's try that. So, not much to look at yet. Let's stick some eyes on him as well. Let's do that. Control D again. that can be straight under this head thing. Actually, let's make his head bob as well, back up and down. So if I do a bit of a bigger head here, maybe like that. Let's create a new empty, move it up here, call it head. Let's put these two objects under the head. So if I rotate this object here, it'll be a head bobbing. And we need eyes on the head, so let's duplicate that one, make it black, and shrink it a lot. Maybe like that. Something like that, maybe. Okay, we'll be making symmetry. Actually, this one I don't need a symmetry thing for that. Let's duplicate that one and then take the negative X away. There we go. But we will be using the symmetry thing for this one. Let's go. Let's get back to this. So we're going to be making a wizard. So when I right click on this object now, on this wing here, for example, this is the part of the hierarchy that I want to flip to the other side instead of doing everything manual. And if I right click now, you see that since I created a scriptable wizard here and put this menu item with the parameters, I can right click on this and do flip X, and nothing's happening at the moment because I haven't put any code in here. And what we want to do in the editor here is we want to instantiate, and we want to use the selection and the active game object, and we want to instantiate it under the selected active transforms parent. And active transform parent. Here we go. And let's so this is actually instantiating a copy of that one that or the selection that I've already got going, and the hierarchy under this one. If I just do, I keep getting the English keyboard settings. Let's see. If I were to do this now, right click and do flip X, you see that it's created a clone here now, but it's not flipped it. So it's just creating a clone. It's a little helper thing. We don't just want to clone it like this. We want to do some stuff to it. And so I want to include the children. So let's do this. I'll start. I'm still on this line. I took away the semicolon here. I'm going to get the components in the children. And we want to get the transforms that are under in the hierarchy. Transform. And let's convert that one to a list and then iterate over that list. Actually, we don't have a link, so I'll press Control dot here and add the link using link here. So that converts this array to a list, and then we want to do a for each iteration of this. Let's call it T, and then let's do a little function here to do stuff with it. And with this transform, we want to change the local position to a new vector 3, and let's put that one at -t, so we're flipping the x now. X, so that's the only thing we're doing. We can copy this because the y and z we want to keep the same, like this. So that's the first thing we want to do. And now basically it's iterating over all the children of the children transforms. So it takes the components of the transform, converts it to a list, for eaches it, and changes the local position to a -x value. So that basically moves it, but it hasn't flipped it yet. So the other thing we want to do then is we want to change the rotation. Local Euler angles we want to work with. New vector 3 again. Local Euler angles x. And x we want to keep at the same at this time because we don't want to rotate it around the x-axis. We want to flip it, however, around the -y and -z-axis. So now we've fixed that. And I think we can start like this. Now we should already see some difference here. If I right click here now and do flip X, here you go. It's taking that stack and done an exact flip of that one and put the components. So we can call this one left and this one right because we're looking at it from the front here. So here we go. Let's see, we've got some shine. Let's take away this reflection as well a bit, so we can do that on all the objects. So the smoothness, like that. Metallic down as well. Here we go. So now we've got a symmetry object, but they don't really look so good unless we animate them. So I think the next thing we're going to do is have a little animation helper going as well. And let's see here. Let's create a new script again, and this one we'll put in a new folder called scripts. Let's call this one curve animation. And something really powerful in Unity I find is the animation curves, and you can use them for all sorts of stuff. Basically you can draw a shape of an animation curve, and then you can evaluate on that curve and have animations follow it, so you can ease it in and out instead of having to do with the mathematical calculations. So I think what we'll do here is, if I could go into this one, reload. What happened? Yep. So the flip X we've got there. Here's the curve animation. First thing we want to do is have actually the ability to draw a curve. Curve. So let's add animation call and call it curve. And what this does is, if I want to be able to tilt this wing here, the left wing for example, I attach this component to it, and because I exposed that one, I can use these curves now. And I'll show you if I just have this is one of the default. These I might have drawn in the past and saved them. If you don't have those, you can draw them yourself. Basically, you just draw a new curve. But I think these are default, so let's keep it at that one. And so far I've only got the curve itself, and we want to be working with the rotations, I think. So let's do an array of vector 3 and call it rotations. We want to be able to self-animate these as well, and we want to control them from a central component to move all the enemies as well. But self-animation interval. Let's keep it as a default -1 if we don't want to use it. Oh, I need it to be a float. That could be a timer that we use later on. And a few more things. First thing we want to do in the awake here. Let's just get rid of these. So in the awake mono behavior, let's do if self-animated interval is greater than 0. I'm going to call an animate method with the interval. And let's create this one. We don't have this one yet, that's why it's here. If I press Control dot, it'll ask to create that method, so it saves me having to type it manually. Here we go. And with the animate, what do we want to do? We want to have a stopwatch as well, actually. So let's create a new stopwatch. A new stopwatch. And this one is Control period again, and then enter. I thought. No, we want to go using here, using diagnostics. So I can use this stop. Can't even type. Here we go. And let's see, what do we need? We need an interval as well, how often this is going to happen. So a private float interval equals every once a second for now, and then private int rotation index. We'll keep which one of the items in the array we're at the moment with which rotation. And so let's, if we have an interval to do this one, we want to animate it, so then we do a stopwatch, and then we restart the stopwatch here, and then set the interval to self-animation interval, and then we increase the rotation index. And here we'll do, so we will actually have the rotation index going up to its maximum value and then dropping back to 0. So rot index equals rot index, and let's do an a conditional one here. So if it's rotations, why is that not? Oh, I misspelled. I can't misspell today. Rotations, that's what it's meant to say. Rotations length minus 1. If it's less than rotation index or length minus 1, then we will do an increase of it, index plus 1, or otherwise we'll reset it back to 0. So this one sets rot index. If it's reached the end of the array, it'll set it to 0, and if it hasn't, then it'll increase it by 1. And we also need an update here, because we need to do something with this. And let's calculate t first, which is just going to be, let's make it ensure that it's a float, and let's get the stopwatch elapsed total seconds and divide it by the interval. Then we'll get a value between 0 and 1, which is what we really need to evaluate on the animation curve. And then let's change transform local Euler angles vector 3 lerp, and we'll do a linear interpolation of this one. And how do we want to go from rotations rot index, so the current index that we're at in the rotations array, and that's the from value, and the to value rotations rot index, and here we need to do a conditional one as well. Rotations length minus 1. If it is, rot index plus 1. Otherwise, give me 0. So it starts over. And we also need to, here it comes to where we use the animation curve in the end. We'll have the curve, and we evaluate that one at t that we calculated above. I think that should be it. So we have calculated a value between 0 and 1 based on the interval and the stopwatch. And we lerp, we do a linear interpolation between the current rotation and to the destination. And if it's reached the end of the array, it'll set it back to 0 then. So it'll lerp it into the first item in the array. And it'll evaluate on this curve. So this one should theoretically work now. We've stuck it on just the left wing for now, and we've got this here. And let's put a self animate of once every second. And then let's add not 20. We'll add 2 rotations in the array. And how do we want to rotate this? Maybe on the first iteration, we want to make sure that this one is, let's see, let's rotate it here on local. Actually, because we'll be looking at this from above like this, so let's rotate it around the y-axis like this. So maybe a good value would be 33 to minus 57. 33 to minus 57. And now probably only one side will animate here. Yeah. And it's not going back to its original. It should be looping around this one. Let's see why it's happening. So a faster interval. Okay, so it goes to there. I probably missed something here. Oh yeah, I need to actually do. It's only playing it once, so if I do t is less or equal to 1, that's when we're going to do this. But if it's more than 1, that means that it's got past its interval. In that case, we want to do if we have a self interval and it's greater. So if that one sets it greater than 0, let's force the animation to the self animation interval. Now we should work. Yeah. So currently only one arm is moving. We want both to be moving. So I need to go back into this flip X one, and I have to modify this one a little bit. We need to take into consideration here. Let's do a variable, call it curve animation for short. And let's get the component that we just created, curve animation. And if there is a curve animation object, because not all of them will have it, so if there is one, so in other words, if it's not nil, then we will iterate over the children here. Then int I equals 0 is less than rotations. Then we'll increase there. And then here we will actually set the rotations. New vector 3 rotations of I dot x. So let's just copy, but we will mirror. We have to mirror the animations. We're working around the x-axis, so I only want to mirror the y-axis rotations and the z. Otherwise, it'll warp out probably. So we get the curve animation component, and then we loop through the array of rotations that's configured for it, and then we make sure that that one's included when we flip it. Okay, we'll delete that wing, and then we will redo this operation. And now we should hopefully have this animation should be included here. Pivot wing. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the animation. So now it should work. Yay! There we go. It's moving. Let's make the animation a little bit more interesting, I think. First of all, let's add, I'll delete this one again, and then we'll add an animation to this part as well. Since we have the capability now, we can do another curve animation, maybe let's do every second only. And let's have this animation where it sort of gets to the end and then it bounces a bit. And let's do 2 animations here as well. And maybe this one would go around the z-axis down to 85 and up to minus 64. 85 minus 64. There you go. It's nearly like a flying. Let's copy it. Flip X. Oh, I've already done this, didn't I? Flip X. Yeah, let's actually put that same curve on this one. Okay, and let's do the same for the head. This one we don't need to flip, but let's put an animation to it anyway. 2 1 second interval. I'm gonna rotate that one around the z-axis. So from minus 38 to 58, minus 38 to 58. Okay, here we've got a problem. It's because I haven't set a curve. I'll put the same curve on that one. Here we go, here's our first enemy. And okay, yeah. So now we need to get this enemy to move. Let's rotate him. Let's call him enemy 1. And
all right, let's end the video there. Actually, it's already half an hour long, and it's probably better that I release another video if I were to add any more content. I've already recorded some more footage, so basically to get the Space Invader movement properly, and that's you don't just move them from left to right, because if you shoot the ones in the middle, you don't want the whole bunch to compress. You want them to leave the gap. And I've got that in a project and recorded into to a video as well. But I can edit that and throw that up as well. Put in the comments down below if you'll find that interesting, or if you want me to do another video. Anything else, just throw it in the comments, and I'll do my best to accommodate. Accommodate. It's a posh word. I'll try to do my best to put that in a video. Odd. All right. Anyway. let's end it right here. Again, thumbs up if you like it, subscribe if you can, and stay tuned till the next video. I'm looking forward to creating some more content, and I'm going to make more tutorials if you want that. I haven't done the vlog in a while, so I might throw one of those in. Yeah, let's end it, and take care. I'll do my Zoolander Magnum face. No, blue steel, is it?